Hi guys, Adriano, Head of Sales at My Real Estate. I'm here to answer some of the most common questions that I get from buyers that are going to be bidding at auction. So the first most common question I get from buyers is, should I tell the agent my most maximum price that I'm prepared to stretch to? I will preface by saying that I am biased in this, but also I am here to help you buy. So I generally do tell parties that are very interested, there is no harm in telling your potential agent or your auctioneer your maximum. The one thing that I will tell you about that is it shows confidence that you're a serious buyer, but also saves you time if the agent does the right thing and tells you that maybe you're not in a position to actually buy that property and you can move on to the next property. What are the strategies for bidding at an auction? There's generally three types of bidding strategies or buying strategies when bidding an auction. The first is the one where people will wait until the end. The second is the slow play or the slow drip or the very elongated auction. That's when you make the auctioneer do a lot of work, you stretch out every bid, you wait until the third and final call, and then you throw in a bid. And the other option, and that's my professional opinion when I'm bidding for clients at auction, is to bid boldly and bid aggressively. When you bid aggressively and you bid quickly at auction, you do put a little false sense in other buyers' mind to say that you're here, you're not here to mess around, you're here to bid quick and you want the property. And what you want to do as a buyer is you want to limit your competition as much as possible and separate the people that are there just to make up the numbers and really focus on yourself bidding against other registered, qualified and ready to go buyers. What's the best advice that I can give when you're bidding at an auction? The first and probably the most common thing that I can tell all bidders that are bidding at auction is don't focus on the market, don't focus on what other people are doing, just focus on yourself. You cannot control what other people are prepared to spend or stretch. You can only control what you are prepared to pay realistically in order to try and secure that home. What should you do as a buyer to be ready to bid at an auction? There's a few points that I think that buyers need to be ready. The first thing is do your due diligence. So make sure that you inspect the property multiple times. Make sure if you are wanting to do any pest or building inspections before the auction date, because it is an unconditional contract. Make sure you have the contract looked over by a professional conveyancer or solicitor, but most importantly, finance. Make sure that you've got your 10% deposit ready to be paid on the day, and make sure that you've got a pre-approval in writing from a bank or lender so that you know that you're ready to purchase unconditionally at an auction. What's the deposit amount that I have to pay after being successful at an auction? Generally here in Victoria, it's 10% of the purchase price. So if you purchase a property for $600,000, generally the agent will ask for 10%, which is $60,000. In saying that, there is nothing stopping you from trying to get special terms outside of that realm with paying a lesser deposit, but all that information and all that criteria has to be given approval from the vendor before auction. So please make sure that you speak to the agent before auction to confirm all the bidding terms for the day. If I was to win at auction and stretched above my means and I wasn't able to go through with the contract, what happens next? Well, by law, unfortunately, as a purchaser or bidder, when you're bidding at auction, you pay that 10% deposit. Unfortunately, you will have to forfeit those funds if you can't settle the contract. Please make sure that you have at least a pre-approval in writing from a bank or financial institution so that you know that someone is going to lend you whatever figure that is. And just be mindful that if you do stretch above that pre-approval, you will have to come up with the surplus of funds. So what is subject to finance? Subject to finance basically means that you as a purchaser have been given information or authority from a bank or broker to make an offer on a property. It's a bit of an out clause as a buyer so that you're not committing to a property, paying 10% and then having to not be able to get finance. The only thing I would say with that is, here in Victoria, you will very much be limited to the property that you can buy because 75 to 80% of properties are sold down the auction method, and auction method basically means you cannot make them subject to finance. It has to be an unconditional sale. Can I go above my pre-approval? Just be mindful that when you get a letter from the bank or broker or financial institution, generally your pre-approval letter will have a pre-approval amount And generally that pre-approval amount is purchase price. So that is all inclusive generally of stamp duty and all other costs. So you just need to be mindful that if you do go above that amount, so hypothetically, your pre-approval letter says $650,000, you bid up to $700,000, there may be a shortfall of $50,000 where you will need to come up with those funds in order to try and settle that property. So just be mindful and check with your bank or broker what is the absolute maximum that you can stretch in order to try and buy that property.